like closed out. Somebody asked, how am I? I'm better. Just an FYI, part of the reason why I had a unintended hiatus was because my COVID, I had COVID, but I think it flared up my Crohn's disease, yada, yada, yada. So, and I was just like, it was just something new every couple days, and there were other stuff. Everybody's going through it. Thank you, Brittany. That's very sweet. Hi, Immigration Pro. And I did used to have like the handbags and stuff over here. So that's still the same direction. I'm still facing the same direction. But like I took everything out of my office. It looks so much better. Can I give a quick, like, that's the window and the door, but like I'm sitting at a desk, and I used to have all these open shelves, which I hated, and now I don't, so it's awesome. Which one of my handbags is my favorite? Like right there. Just because it's easy. A lot of these are old. That's got to be like 7 years old. Those are like Sophia bags because they're really old. They're like, Junie and Burke was my first ever designer purse. I think my mom got that for me at Costco. Like Tim got this for me a long, long, long time ago. It was like my first ever Louis Vuitton purchase. But, hi, thank you. Thank you for saying names to me. And then it probably looks really douchey, but, and off topic, and I'll get to the Britney Spears stuff in a second. I keep the, little boxes that like my sunglasses come in from Chanel or, yeah, there's by my bed. I keep those little boxes because I think they're cute. And any notes or sweet little things that Sophia gives me, I put them in there. So, thank you for everybody saying I've been missed. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to know that you guys care enough to miss me. What's up? No. Love you so much. Sophia, baby girl, please stop. I love you. Mom mode activated. You paid enough for them, so yes, keep the boxes. Fair enough. Am I crazy, or did they not air Call Her Daddy Part 2? My understanding, I had anticipated it wasn't going to drop until midnight tonight. People are saying it was going to drop at midnight yesterday, and they didn't air it. And then I had heard reports that they are going to be airing Part 2, and that Alex had come out and said that they're still airing it regardless of the cease and desist, which, remember, was not directed at Alex or Call Her Daddy, instead directed at Jamie Lynn. Theoretically, that cease and desist would have, not theoretically, factually, that cease and desist, based off of what we know, was sent after the interview would have been taped. So, where have I been? I've been here, but like health stuff and family stuff, and it was just, it was what it was. I will say, my page fundamentally is not going to change, but I'm not going to be covering the same stuff that I was covering. I don't anticipate talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff again. I think covering stuff that's that dark is just not for me. And I got to make sure that my mental health is good, because when your mental health isn't good, especially when you have an autoimmune disease, your physical health drops, and that's not fun for anybody. I don't think they will drop Part 2 now. We'll see. We'll see. Will you call your dad? My hairstylist is calling me. I'm still going to be covering Brittany. Yeah. Yeah. Shouldn't it still affect it? Can't it be not released since it hasn't been released yet? I think I understand what you're saying. The cease and desist letter got sent, and because it was sent before the release of the podcast, they could still pull back part 2. True, yeah, theoretically. But we don't know what the contract was between Spotify and Call Her Daddy and Jamie Lynn. And the cease and desist was sent to Jamie Lynn, not to Call Her Daddy, that we're aware of. Can Call Her Daddy get in trouble if they do? The repercussions that were outlined in the letter were not super clear, other than you can't defame her. Brittany's a public figure, so the threshold for that is much higher. And like general discussion about her. But I don't think Call Her Daddy's going to get in trouble. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it requires actual malice. And again, we don't have any information that Rosengart said anything to Call Her Daddy. Which, okay, so you're saying which arguably this has. It's just such a high threshold. It's so hard to get it. Yeah, it's so hard to prove. Agreed. If they were to publish this after the cease and desist, they may create their own legal issues. Oh, you think Spotify could? You think so? Interesting. We may have a difference of opinion on that. Did you watch Jamie Lynn's interview on Call Her Daddy? Yeah, that's what you're just talking about. Can you see if Rosengart put the same thing in for Jamie Lynn as Call Her Daddy? So generally, cease and desist are private. I'm not quite sure how this got published. I don't know California law, though. Yeah, fair enough. And it's one of those things where it's not cut and dry, which is why you can see reasonable people disagreeing. I'm talking to the general, not to Lady Lawyer Warrior. But attorneys, this lives in the area of nuance. This does not live in the area of black and white. Important to note. You guys are all saying you love my hair. I appreciate you guys so much. You would think since Jamie Lynn was on the podcast, someone is going to get in trouble if they air it. We'll have to see. Here's the thing. I hesitate to say what's going to happen because I don't know what's in. I don't know what Rosengart's planning. I don't know. He's not the type of attorney that's going to send a letter like that and make empty threats. He's going to follow through. So Jamie Lynn could have said like, hey, to the extent she was paid for the interview, or to the extent Spotify or Call Her Daddy, because likely they're seeing subscribers and viewers, and maybe Alex is getting it. I don't know what the contracts are between her and Spotify. I know that she got paid a shit ton because she held the intellectual property. I followed that story with Barstool Sports when Call Her Daddy left Barstool Sports and went to Spotify. But I have to imagine that there's some kind of compensation that Alex gets from listeners, and why this was such a great get for the podcast. So to the extent they don't have any liability and can move forward with publishing the second part, I don't know why they wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Jamie Lynn likely doesn't own rights to the episode, so she may have no say. Agreed. That's exactly where I'm coming from. Hi, Blanca. I just heard about the dad had a listening device in Brittany's bedroom. Oh, that's just the start of it. That is just the start of it. What was the letter he sent? Rosengart sent a cease and desist to Jamie Lynn. Did we hear FBI looking into Jamie listening into Britt's calls? There was a declaration published by, let me get her name, Shireen Abadi, who's a former FBI special agent. She has her, served as a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, where I worked on complex financial fraud and public corruption cases for more than 10 years. I have significant experience interviewing witnesses and analyzing financial, tax, and other records, and investigating various types of sophisticated fraud and financial crimes, including embezzlement, money laundering, corporate and securities fraud, and financial institution fraud. In 2017, I was selected by the former FBI Director Robert Mueller to serve as an FBI investigator in his special counsel's office. So she goes on, which is typical in these types of declarations, to give all of her accolades and her experience. But she works for a private firm now, Kroll Associates, who has been hired. Let's see the specific. They were retained by Matthew Rosengart's firm last summer to provide forensic and other investigative services in connection with, among other things, the petition to suspend and remove Jamie Spears as conservator of the estate of Britney Spears and related financial and other matters. I and a team of forensic accountants and analysts have been conducting an inquiry into James P. Spears' management of the estate, which remains ongoing. Is there another post? I can't keep up with the Instagram stuff. You're welcome. Did you ever think that there is so much in this case? Yeah, but it doesn't always, it doesn't always come to the public view. So my purpose of talking about the FBI issue, this is a former special agent for the FBI hired by Rosengart to discuss the matters moving forward on and review past accountings and expenditures and actions in regards to the conservatorship. I think we were under the understanding it was forwarded to the FBI. I can't remember who, but a criminal investigative agency late last summer, I think, when all this stuff with the New York Times came to fruition, the listening devices, things like that, it was forwarded. So, but I want to make sure we're all clear. This person has nothing to do with the criminal investigation on Jamie Spears. This person is a private citizen now, a former FBI agent who is giving her opinion, analyzing documents and actions, and giving a summary of that in her capacity as a private citizen with her experience as a prior FBI special agent. Criminal investigative process could overlap with the things that she's found. She could assist that with giving a criminal investigative process information, but she is not the criminal investigative process. I hope that makes sense. I think Rosengart released to activate the Free Britney backlash as well. Maybe. Okay, let me log on to Instagram real quick. I wish I had an easier way. Britney Spears. Okay. Looks like I think I'm up to date on all that stuff. Yeah, the stuff going on between Jamie Lynn and Brittany, I'll touch on it for a second, but I try to focus more on the legal stuff. I didn't love the fact that Jamie Lynn came out and was like, we just need to handle this behind the scenes, and then the trailer for Call Her Daddy drops. Like, what did the cease and desist letter say? Let me pull it up. It's like the one thing I didn't save to my desktop. Credit goes to Noted Your Honor on Twitter. Love the account. Great free Brittany account. Downloads all the documents. Provides them for public use. Okay. Dear Miss Spears, to Jamie Lynn, as you know, I represent your sister, Britney Spears, and I write at her request concerning the above referenced matter. Things I should have said. We write with some hesitation because the last thing Britney wants is to bring more attention to your ill-timed book and its misleading or outrageous claims about her. Although Britney has not read and doesn't intend to read your book, she and millions of her fans were shocked to see how you have exploited her for intend to read your book. She and millions of her fans were shocked to see how you have exploited her that was me. Sorry, I got a call. She and millions of her fans were shocked to see how you have exploited her for monetary gain. She will not tolerate it, nor should she. You of all people know the abuse and wrongdoing Brittany had to endure during the conservatorship after initially growing up with a ruinous alcoholic father. In fact, your own book reportedly states that your father spent most of my life in that cycle of ruinous behavior. His bouts of drinking caused me periods of torment and sorrow, end quote. As I have previously stated, having endured a 13-year conservatorship that stripped her of civil rights and fundamental liberties, Brittany will no longer be bullied by her father or anyone else. Brittany was the family's breadwinner, and she also otherwise supported you. Publicly airing false or fantastical grievances is wrong, especially when designed to sell books. It is also potentially unlawful and defamatory. There's the actions. Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. And to Brittany's great credit, that is exactly what Brittany is going to do for the time being. You recently reportedly stated that the book was, quote, not about her. She takes you at your word, and we, therefore, demand that you cease and desist from referencing Brittany derogatorily during your promotional campaign. If you fail to do so or defame her, Brittany will be forced to consider and take all appropriate legal action. Your representatives may contact me if you have any questions. Hi, Tams. Tams, you're singing happy birthday to Sophia. I keep meaning to message you back. Was like, it sent her. She was so happy. I'm back. Sam Ingham, will he get in trouble? We'll see. The problem is he could have done stuff wrong, but on the list of things to do, I don't think he's in the top 5 or 10. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Okay. Jenny says, she seems to have been taken advantage of, but she is certainly bipolar, very manic. I'm going to address this once. I was tempted to make a video about it earlier. Here's the deal. None of us likely have gone through anything close to what Britney Spears has gone through. None of us. The idea that we would be enslaved for 13 years, controlled, abused, and harmed in the way that she was after being pushed into the spotlight. So parents and family push you into the spotlight, make a lot of money for our use, elevate us, leverage that fame to make money and elevate our social status, our financial status, further leverage that for the purposes of careers for all kinds of other people in the family. Lynn, Jamie, Lou Taylor, Lynn, I mean, whoever, right? And then when you are no longer maintaining our lifestyle or the level of a relationship that we desire with you, regardless of how you're acting, we are then going to enslave you, sterilize you, abuse you, control you, surveil you, gaslight you. It's hard for me to wrap my head around anybody that would come out of that without any trauma. I'm not a psychiatrist or therapist, so I can't speak to how that trauma is going to present itself. But I think it would behoove us all to take a step back from judging her on how she acts in a world in which she has never lived. I understand a lot of people say this, and I it really bothers me because it takes a level of intellectual dishonesty to both see the abuse and then judge her for how she reacts to it. We have to be honest with ourselves that there's nuance there, and we cannot expect a person who has been enslaved for 13 years to present herself as a normal person of her age would in regular circumstances. And let's not forget that social media wasn't even a thing really when she was, first put in this. 2008. I barely had Facebook. So it's not the world in which she's, engaging in right now is light years different than the world that she left when control of her world was taken from her. Yeah. Yeah, she has been sexualized since she was a kid. Yeah, the whole thing. I don't think she's manic. I think she's stuck on a teenager's level mentally. Potentially, but that has been argued about a lot of child stars, that when they get vaulted into fame, they stop maturing at that level. Anybody with a fan base that has, you could see this in some similar behavior in all kinds of different areas of influencers or public figures. It's not just her. And it's interesting the confirmation bias that people have when they've been told for years that she's crazy. So they will find things that she does that doesn't fit the norm that they have to reflect that, oh, she's crazy narrative. But when I don't know, Pete Davidson does something, Kanye West does something, Kim Kardashian posts herself naked and gets with Pete Davidson after leaving her, multi-millionaire, billionaire husband. None of us think that she needs to be hospitalized, No, it's okay. When people are gaslit, it's totally normal to react in a defensive and exaggerated manner. Yeah. So court starts, somebody asked if court had started. No, court starts at 1:30. So I should pull up YouTube and see if anybody has the live feed outside the courtroom. Because we always like the live feed. It's helpful. Interesting. I'm not seeing a live feed outside the courtroom. That's okay. The other account that I really like to follow, if you guys end up getting off of here or want to, is Brittany Law Army. They have systematic, they have a very good system to report on this stuff. So that is, and they're there. Awesome. That surprise witness updated about 25 minutes ago that she was getting ready to go in. I think Emily Baker's live too on YouTube right now. Just if you guys have any other this chick's okay, but I want someone different, or I don't want to watch on TikTok or whatever, you can always watch somewhere else too. Will Jamie be in court today? Historically, I don't think he's been in court. He's been on the phone. What is the hearing about today? Who tweeted out the record? I think it was Noted Your Honor tweeted out, or not the record, the docket. Let me see. Good question though. Where is it? Zabel's petition for substituted judgment, Jody's motion to seal and limit service of term plan, freaking trains, 12th account current and report, petition for Jamie Spears attorney's fees, objection to Jamie Spears petition for attorney's fees, petition for Lynn Spears attorney's fees, petition for Jody Montgomery's attorney's fees, petition for Samuel Ingham's attorney's fees. Emily goes live in 15 minutes. Got it. Watching Emily and you and Chris. I mean, if you need a lawyer in your life, aboard. Who's Emily? Emily Baker. She's got like 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. She's built a great following on there. She's an attorney. She used to practice in California. She used to be a district attorney in LA, moved to Tennessee, and now is a full-time content creator. That's the difference between her and I. She like does this so well, she can just do this. But I'm still over here in California practicing. Why does Lynn need lawyer's fees? For the same reason that Jamie's asking for lawyer's fees. They're acting in the best interest of Britney Spears. Therefore, they believe that their attorneys should be paid for from Britney Spears' estate, which is historically how it's happened. So let's get to the chase. When is he going to jail? There are no criminal proceedings before the court today. The closest we could come is if there's some kind of contempt hearing, which we don't have notice for, and is unlikely at this point. Is that a dog in the background? Yes, we have a lot of those things here. Brittany is not on trial. Brittany's conservatorship is before the court. Will this be live? This is live. There will not be a live feed of the courtroom. That's never happened. Well, that happened once on June 23rd, 2021. Is this with the same judge that ended the conservatorship? Yes, it's assigned to her for all purposes. Do you think Lou Taylor will face any repercussions? Potentially. Okay. I want to catch up. Will you report on the hearing after it's over and info is available? I'm going to try to keep up to date on here as it comes out. I'll attempt to. Just an objection to Jamie's fees, not all fees. As far as I see, that is correct. Just an objection to Jamie's fees, but his objection to Jamie's fees is long and drawn out. Not drawn. That's a negative term. Long and detailed. 258 pages. I was planning on going through that, so I'll start to do that. What else can they pin on Jamie? Let me pull that up. Hold on. So we can start. Okay. So the 256 page document is titled Brittany's objections, I'm going to paraphrase, to James Spears' petition for order paying attorney's fees for himself. Essentially what he's asking is, hey, I got this new counsel. I'm going to be represented by him moving forward. I still must be involved in the conservatorship to some extent, and I'm going to need somebody to pay my attorney's fees like has been done in the past. Therefore, I need it to be paid out of Brittany's estate. Matthew Rosengart has a number of concerns about this for obvious reasons. He starts his petition, Matthew Rosengart, Brittany's attorney, in violation of California standards of conduct for the conservator of the estate, basic conservatorship jurisprudence, and the law governing fiduciaries. James Spears enriched himself while acting as conservator at the expense of Britney Spears' estate, taking more than $6 million from his daughter's earnings while paying his numerous lawyers and others many millions more. Engaged in self-dealing, financial and business mismanagement, engaged in abusive and bullying conduct towards his daughter, deprived his daughter of fundamental civil liberties, including invading her privacy, potentially in violation of California's penal code and federal criminal law, became the subject of a domestic violence restraining order resulting from altercations with Britney Spears' children, engaged in chronic alcohol abuse, impairing his ability to serve faithfully, had actual or apparent conflicts of interest, and relatedly used his role as conservator to further his own personal and business interests. Hypothetically, would Jamie ever really face jail time? Possibly. Okay, this is a really good question. It's at the very end, but I want to answer it now. I saw the petition filed that Dad was with Lou Taylor in a relationship. That was included in a discovery document sent by Rosengart to Jamie's attorneys called a request for admission. It's a discovery document. Discovery documents are things that we use to get information from one party to another. So I could send a discovery document, a request for admission, admit you breached your fiduciary duty to my client, Jane Smith. In this case, there's so many. I can't remember how many included. 80? 76. And so what Rosengart's trying to do is pin down, is this true or are you denying it? To the extent he admits it, he has to, Jamie Spears, to the extent Jamie Spears admits any of these requests for admissions that are being sent by Rosengart on behalf of Brittany, he can admit that, he can provide that to the court because it's signed under penalty of perjury by Jamie Spears, the responses are. So we can use that in court in furtherance of whatever he's seeking at a hearing. Unrelated, but I love how your bookshelves house no books. I don't think they're bookshelves. I think they're shelves for me. Thank you, Jody. One was mentioned about Lou and Jamie. Okay, so the request for admission specifically says, I think it's 49. Admit that when you were the conservator of the estate, you had a romantic relationship with Lou Taylor. If I was representing Jamie, let's give you a little taste of what lawyering looks like. If I was representing Jamie, having no knowledge of any of the facts of this and whether or not he could, in fact, admit this, I would object as vague, ambiguous, as to romantic relationship, as to time. He was the conservator of the estate for a long period of time. So when specifically are you requesting that I admit that I was engaged in a romantic relationship with her? You could argue that it's not discoverable because it isn't reasonably related to the discovery of admissible evidence, though courts tend to view that very liberally and allow the discovery of more things. They construe that liberally so not to limit what can be discovered unnecessarily. Media requests to attend hearing have been denied. Interesting. Let me pull up. I'm not seeing anything from Brittany Law Army. Let me pull up that surprise witness. She's always great. Search the trending. Nope. Okay. That surprise witness. Nothing. Okay. They do allow a lot, yeah. Where did the romantic relationship detail come from? Is it widely suspected or is it Rosengart's assertion? It's a question that at least rose to the level of purview of Rosengart and or his associates that assisted in drafting this. It would, if true, that could be a potential conflict of interest if Jamie Spears is engaged in a romantic relationship with Lou Taylor in, let's say, 2018, I think that's, or 19, when Brittany called off the tour, or called off the Las Vegas residency. I think it was 19. Pretend they were in a romantic relationship at that time, and Lou Taylor, in October or so of that year, said, hey, we get a percentage of her earnings. She's now said she's no longer going to perform. Therefore, she isn't earning anything. Therefore, we're not earning any percentage because, 50% of zero is still zero. But if at that time they said we need a floor of like $500,000 in order to continue to be her management because we're not making the money that we anticipated to make. And Jamie's response to that was like, oh, okay. There was no negotiation. There was no further clarification. There was no, as per our contract, you are entitled to a percentage. If she's not performing, there's no management required. Therefore, you don't get anything. There was none of that. It was, you want 500 or 550, 500. Therefore you have it. You want it, you get it. So if they were involved in a romantic relationship and the exchange between them was that straightforward, clearly that could be a conflict. Could this relationship be the reason behind the conservatorship? I guess anything's possible. I was sent discovery once. Attorney was able to reject it, saying it was sent just to cause problems. Interesting. Benefit for Brittany is Jamie doesn't know. Let's see. I think I answered that. Okay. Oops. I'm trying to get up to date. Okay. You can find on Your Honor Twitter Britney Spears' recent response. You can find on noted, Your Honor. Let's see. I have that up. Could there be damage from all the meds she was forced to take? I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Okay. Here we go. 1 hour ago, Britney Spears posted. And why do I say that, you selfish little brat? Saying how weird and dumb it was that I bought a house for mama. In the interview that Jamie Lynn gave to Call Her Daddy, she made reference to this house that Brittany bought for her mother to get away from her father, her alcoholic, abusive father, that everybody seems to agree is alcoholic and abusive, but regardless was put in charge of Brittany. And she says in this interview, like, that's weird. Why would you do that? I didn't understand. She was so proud, and you told that interview girl that it was just weird. Like, I guess I will just walk in these halls. Why did you say that? And why watching your at-length interview, really 2 hours or more, and the topic about the knife, which is ironically the only lie you've ever told in your whole life, why is that conversation 20 minutes? And the most degrading to me, oh, but you don't want to keep talking about it because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yet you let it linger forever, saying you felt unsafe with me and weird. Fuck you, Jamie Lynn. You know, I don't think there's enough fuck yous in the world. I just personally, I appreciate a good fuck you. My mouth was on the floor the way you talked back to mama when I came home. Shocked out of my mind. You were fucking hateful to her, and I know mama had been lazy with me, but I'm sorry, you deserved way more than a purse knocked at you by mama. Oh, geez. She should have whipped your ass. Poor mama took it too, just like I did in the end. She worshipped you too much, I know, but if you came out of my stomach, I would have popped the shit out of your little ass. Oh, geez. When I came home, you and your little friends all thought I wasn't cool. You felt bad for me in the breakup. Hell no, you didn't. You and your friends all dyed your hair like Christina Aguilera, and you no longer would play with me anymore. I never shut you out, ever. I get it. You were 12, but you were fucking hateful to mama, being cool with your stupid dark hair. You can paint it however you like, but dear child, you shut me out when I needed you the most. Writing in your book saying I wasn't like your mom anymore? No, you hurt me. Jesus. Yeah, it's weird. Jamie Lynn discusses in this Call Her Daddy podcast, should officially be in session, by the way, in her Call Her Daddy podcast, that she looked at Brittany and Justin Timberlake as parental figures. And so when they broke up, it was hard on her because they were like her parents. Do you think Rosengart is not letting Brittany do any press until everything is settled with her conservatorship? No, I don't. That's a good question, Steph. I don't know. She's talking already. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? She's going to say what she's going to say on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. So I don't know that not doing any press is necessary. I will say, to the extent Rosengart is saying, Jamie Lynn, don't defame your sister, the only caveat I will have to that is that Brittany does need to be careful on what she says, because that's a two-way street. I think Rosengart doesn't want her to show their complete hand, maybe with regard to how Brittany was treated, but judging from what I'm seeing, I don't even think Brittany knows. I think Rosengart knows more than Brittany. How do we know that Brittany is the one posting? Rosengart confirmed that a couple months ago. He said it is Brittany's Instagram now. She is controlling her social media. Now, I guess theoretically that could have changed, but and I'm not trying to worship Rosengart to any stretch of the imagination, but I trust what he's saying in that regard. I'm glad she's saying something. She deserves to take up for herself in some way. Fair enough. I saw her response about that. She is trusting and traumatized to do the interviews. She did want to speak to Oprah, though. Doesn't know how to do it best. I can see her posting a lot since she's no longer being controlled. Fair enough. And she's watching. You have to remember, she's watching everybody. Jamie Lynn released her book and go on Good Morning America, and everybody gets a narrative. And all she has is her phone. That's the only outlet to the outside world. In that episode on Call Her Daddy, Jamie Lynn is really laying down the groundwork to make herself a victim on the same level as Brittany. 100%. It's interesting because at the same time she's painting a very similar picture of being confined and abused and mistreated and outcast to some extent. And, you have to go to the cabin in the woods. You're going to pay for it, but your team has to say what's going on. So it's like she's saying she was in the same situation as Brittany to get points from the public, but then saying, but I figured out how to get out. Therefore, Brittany should have. I'm not quite sure what parallels to draw. She wants to tell her story, fine, but don't drag everyone else in the process. Agreed. Yeah, I think to the extent people think that Brittany wasn't taken advantage of, I would be interested to speak with somebody who truly holds that belief. Hello from Canada. Are Jamie Lynn and Brittany speaking, I wonder? I'm guessing not at this point. Even if you're siblings, I'm guessing that the public cease and desist letter is probably going to cause communications to cease. How did Brittany wind up choosing Rosengart as her lawyer is not known. Speculated, but no, not known. Let me refresh Twitter. Nothing interesting. So usually, let me open up Liz Days. Usually we'll have a live feed outside the courtroom and live Twitter feeds going, but not today. Liz Day has reported on this. She was part of the New York Times exposés on the Britney Spears conservatorship. I can read you guys what she said. Actually, somebody just said, what's today's hearing about? Let me read you. Today at 1:30 PST, there's a court hearing for Britney's conservatorship. The conservatorship has been terminated, but the investigation into and disputes over Britney's money are ongoing. A big issue will be Jamie's request for Brittany to pay his legal fees. As everyone may know by now, a quirk of the conservatorship system is that Brittany had to pay lawyers on both sides, which could include paying for Jamie's, even though he was suspended and the conservatorship is over. Jamie's lawyer has asserted that Jamie engaged in no wrongdoing, so yesterday, Brittany's legal team laid out a preview of their evidence on Jamie's alleged misconduct and possible criminal behavior and says more will very likely come out via discovery. Jamie's lawyer says Brittany should pay his fees as a matter of equity and public policy. Brittany's lawyer says Jamie should pay for it himself with the $6.3 million he made off the conservatorship. And if Jamie already spent that, he should consider a less expensive lawyer. Jamie's lawyer is charging $1,200 an hour. Brittany's lawyer's filing says Jamie would spend Brittany's money to defend himself and cover up the truth. Says it would grant Jamie a license to wage a war of attrition, to rack up fees in the hopes of driving Brittany into submission. Brittany's lawyer says the system was not designed to work this way and Jamie should not be allowed to further exploit it. Notes that new state and federal laws have been proposed to address Brittany's situation. Beyond Jamie's current legal fees, bills for multiple other law firms are also at issue in today's hearing. Yesterday's court filing revealed that Jamie had paid over $30 million of Brittany's money to dozens of law firms over the course of the conservatorship. A prior roundup of the lingering legal bills in dispute, which Brittany's legal team has largely objected to. Freeman firm won $700,000 for 20 months of work. Jamie's other law firm, Holland & Knight, wants $1.3 million for 8 months of work. We've gone over a lot of this. $530,000 of that is media matters. $170,000 to a couple firms in Atlanta related to a lawsuit against a Free Britney supporter. $100,000 spent defending the conservatorship to the media for another firm. Will we know answers today? Great question. I don't know. Jamie Lynn did one TV show. She needs to take several scenes. I don't think I grew up in the era of Zoe 101, so I don't have an I don't know how popular it was. Like, I don't know what kind of fan base she has. It's interesting to me that Jamie Lynn comes out and says the hate against me is just so bad, you know, and the paparazzi and people are like hounding me. But that's literally what sent your sister into a conservatorship, and you don't have a lot of grace on that end. It's really hard to understand. And I will acknowledge that Jamie Lynn was very young when this started, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's been 13 years. She now has a daughter that is in her teens. I think she's 13 years old. It just would be very hard for me to, as a mother, not want to assist somebody in a situation like that, especially if they're a family member. Funny how we Brit fans stand by her. We're the Jamie fans. Yeah. She legit said there were 3 times the amount of paparazzi when she went out with Brittany. Interesting. The reference means little. It didn't last that long. She deserves that treatment. Interesting. Brittany had a lawyer. Shouldn't they have used that one? What do you mean? They don't even run reruns, Alex said. I thought they were bringing it back. Can't they ask all those attorneys for proof that they charge other clients the same hourly fee? Great question. No. 1, that information would be privileged. And 2, a lawyer could look at this case and say, the press, the requirements, yada, yada, yada. My regular fee is $400 an hour, but I'm going to charge $500 for this kind of matter. It would require more. Like, you don't, our fees aren't set and then required across the board. I reduce my fees all the time. Are you a Brit fan or have interest in the case? I was asked to cover it like back in June. And then when Brittany spoke out, I started talking about the case. Is she going to get in trouble for publishing the book if it contains defamatory statements? Possibly. Zoe 101 co-star just had an interview saying Jamie lied about everything. Well, there you go. Thank you, Pink Dancing Queen. I wish she would rekindle her relationship with Felicia. She would be a great person to have around. Yeah, agreed. I do think criminal charges are pending for her father. My gut is telling me that based off of what I know, what I've seen, what I've read. Not that I know anything that you guys don't. Sam was her lawyer in the conservatorship. He represented her. Yes. Sam Ingham, if you compare the 2 attorneys, this is a really good a lot of people think like, if you didn't do anything wrong, you won't get found guilty. You'll be fine. Just talk to the police. If you look at this case and you look at the representation that Sam Ingham provided Britney Spears and the representation that Matthew Rosengart is providing Britney Spears, you see a real deep distinction between how both represent Britney. Sam Ingham was passive. Objected when like the red flag came up on his computer that like, if like this doesn't look good at all. Rosengart is much more offensive. And I don't mean that like we use that in everyday vernacular. I mean, going on the offense, digging through, believing Brittany and making sure that any of the claims of abuse, mismanagement, all of that is discovered and litigated. So if you look at those two people, we'll have to see how much Rosengart charges, but I would argue, obviously, Brittany's getting way more bang for his buck. He's proactive, not reactive. There you go. The brother is alleged to. Interestingly, I really wanted to go through this document, but I don't. I think I'm going to have to set a live at a different time for that. But interestingly, what was discovered within the documents that were dropped yesterday is that Jamie purchased through Brittany's estate and then sold for a loss of $800,000, multiple properties, total loss of $800,000 for those properties. And at some point, Jamie Lynn's husband benefited from the conservatorship as a management or as a purchaser. I'll have to go back and look. But all of this information that's come out is based off of Rosengart's action in reviewing all of the news reports, sussing out all of the sources on that to the extent they were available or provided. And Jamie not even really being, from what I can tell, assisting in the transition. How about Jamie Lynn signing to move trust money to Lou? Legal trouble for Jamie Lynn. It was ultimately retracted and it didn't happen, so I don't think so. Everyone got a piece of the pie but Brittany. I mean, just thinking alone, her estate's worth about $60 million right now. One half of that over the last 13 years was paid to attorneys. Again, I say, if you're in the business of representing the conservator or the conservatee or the conservator of the estate or the person, and you've got locked in a job where you make that much money, but your job is ultimately to wind it down, how fast do you seek winding down that conservatorship if you're making $1.3 million in 8 months for your firm? What about her brother? I'll have to look through the documents to see the brother's involvement. I don't remember anything standing out. If anybody else has any information, feel free to drop it in the comments. Define defamatory, please, because I feel like Jamie Lynn toes the line, but not sure if she crosses it. Let me see. I'll bring up the actual definition. California. Defamation is one of those. The jury instruction would probably be helpful. Let's see. Defamation. Let's see. So, a jury instruction form. These are the elements of defamation per se. This is private figure, matter of public concern. That's the wrong one. Let me pull it up. public figure. Plaintiff claims that defendant harmed her. So Jamie, in this case, it would be Brittany claims that Jamie Lynn harmed her by making one or more of the following statements. You must prove that all of the following are more likely true than not. That's the standard for civil claims. That Jamie Lynn made the statement to a person other than Brittany, that the people who she made the statement to reasonably understood that the statements were about Brittany, that because of the facts and circumstances known to the listeners, they tended to injure Brittany in her occupation or to expose her to hatred, contempt, ridicule, shame, or to discourage others from associating or dealing with her, that the statements were false. Remember, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. That Brittany suffered harm to her property, business, profession, occupation as a result, including money spent as a result of the statement, and that the statements was or were a substantial factor in causing the harm. In addition, Brittany must prove by clear and convincing evidence that Jamie Lynn knew the statements were false or had serious doubts about the truth of the statement. If Brittany has proved all of the above, then she is entitled to recover if she proves it was more likely true than not that Jamie Lynn's wrongful conduct was a substantial factor in causing any of the following actual damages: harm to her property, business, trade, profession, or occupation, or expenses that Brittany had to pay as a result of the defamatory statements, harm to her reputation, or shame, mortification, or hurt feelings. Punitive damages, Brittany could also recover damages to punish Jamie Lynn if she proves by clear and convincing evidence that Jamie Lynn acted with malice, oppression, or fraud. Don't you have any books? I feel like this is going to be a consistent question because I have a bookcase behind me. Here's the deal. I could look at books or I could look at my bags, and I prefer to look at my bags. You can take with that whatever conclusion you want. Oops. She did have serious doubts. Yeah, Jamie Lynn is very, in the interview, she was very, the details aren't super clear. I don't quite remember. I was really little. Like, she doesn't have, you know? Yeah, books on devices. Put a bookshelf background on it. My books are in boxes. I'd be interested in Rosengart's review of Sam Ingham's performance in it from the inside. Yeah, I don't know that Sam Ingham would be interested in that. Why did Jamie Lynn make that weird face in her recent photo shoot? I don't know what weird face that is. What would it mean for the case if it was proven that Jamie had a romantic relationship with Lou Taylor? We discussed this a little bit earlier. The concern would be a conflict of interest. If he is in a romantic relationship with her, if they share finances in any way, and he was giving her contracts with the conservatorship, with him as conservator and her as the beneficiary of those contracts, that would be an issue. You thought it was at 17K. 700 is more than I've had in a long time. I feel like many of these false statements might be in Jamie Lynn's new book. What do you think? I think you're correct. It's hard to tell what she's saying in the interview versus what's in the book, because there seem to be a lot of contradictions. I saw an Instagram account at one point, maybe Talk of Shame had it, I can't remember, where it was like the statement in the book and contrasting that with the statement that she's making in her interviews, and they don't line up. Can you explain Jamie Lynn's involvement in the conservatorship? From Jamie Lynn's account, she wasn't involved. She didn't know. And then she says at some point, my sister asked me to be the trustee and make sure that her kids were taken care of. I find veracity issues with that statement for the foregoing for the following reasons. Okay. Her sister's trust gets put in like court review after the conservatorship. A trust can be a very private document, generally is. That's the benefit of having a trust, is you don't have to have it subject to public scrutiny. No one gets to know where you put your money. But her own recount is that the conservatorship started when she was a minor. So I don't know why Brittany would ask a minor to be in charge of her children's finances. So then she goes into the conservatorship. Other people take over her trust. Jamie Lynn then gets appointed by the court, not by Brittany, but by the court to be the trustee. And a lot of stuff seems to be happening behind the scenes. And then there's a request by Jamie Lynn or her counsel, who knows what involvement she actually had, it's hard to tell, to put this money in some kind of account that is related to Lou Taylor. And then that request is withdrawn. And as we know now, the money is maybe in real time being moved to a new trust created by Rosengart's firm for Brittany. And that's the limited purposes of this conservatorship is remaining open. If Judith Lynn held a financial piece in her sister's conservatorship, can she be prosecuted? A lot of people want to know about criminal liability. I'm not aware of any criminal liability for Jamie Lynn. What I'm seeing. How do you prove a romantic relationship in court? Steph, there's a request for admission number like 49 in Rosengart's discovery to Jamie, requesting that he admit it. If he just outright admits it, great. I guess the alternative, if he denies it, and it's a crucial part of the strategy that Rosengart has, he could bring in people that have personal knowledge. Do you think Jamie Lynn could be doing this to help her father and make Brittany look unstable? It's hard to see that there's not some kind of through line that benefits a lot of people, not Brittany. I love that you're calling her Judas. I'm just reading the comments. I'm not doing that intentionally. I'm just reading the comments. I really try to remain neutral unless it's like, in this case, it's really clear to me that she got fucked over. It's just like, who fucked her over, for how long, and for how much money. I don't agree with how this was handled. See if I missed anything. I'm sure I did. Somebody asked me about Epstein stuff. I don't think I'm going to be covering the Maxwell stuff any further. Sorry if that disappoints you. I apologize. It's just too dark for me, and the crowd, the comments, you got to protect your peace a little bit over here. Can we talk about how the GMA interview was at Lou Taylor's? I was trying to confirm that, and I didn't see confirmation, but there are rumors that Jamie Lynn, her interview on Good Morning America, and then like whatever their nighttime version of that was filmed at Lou Taylor's house, which is interesting, given that, I mean, just so everybody's on the same page, Lou Taylor isn't this like ancillary individual that's like tangentially related. She was the beneficiary, owner, representative, pastor's wife, confidant. Like she was deeply, it seems, involved with the creation of this conservatorship. And reports, though I haven't seen this talked about much, were that she was attempting to become the manager for Brittany before the conservatorship. Brittany didn't want anything to do with her, and didn't want to deal with her. And then after she somehow found her way into she lent money to Jamie, Brittany's father, and then a relationship was formed, whether friendship or romantic, I don't know. Lou Taylor is a female. I really don't speak on judges because I'm a practicing attorney in California, so I don't know. Checking Brittany Law Army to see if anything's come out. Nothing. Interesting. Let me go back to YouTube and see if there's a live feed outside the courtroom. Emily Baker's live. I guess we could always check in with her, but I don't see anything interesting. Do you think Brittany will get any of her missing money back? I don't know. But what her attorney is attempting to do is stop any further money from going to the people that she's attempting to get money back from. So if Jamie Spears owes her $5 million and Jamie wants to continue with this tradition of overpaying attorneys to represent him or his interests, it'd be best if we could just like stop doing that now so we don't have to seek additional money from him in the future. This is a bipartisan question. I appreciate this. Great Joy said, riddle me this. Why did Biden schedule a press conference during this when clearly we're all into Brittany? Fair question. That idea floated in my head. This is a non-political space, but I thought that was really funny. What kind of eyeliner do I use? Stila. If she does a tell-all with Oprah before this case is resolved, can it affect the case? Yes. Theoretically. It's disappointing you aren't in court with a button cam. Come on, Heather, take one for the team. You want me to get disbarred? Who's gonna pay for my salary? Who's gonna pay for my non-book bookshelf? What am I gonna do? Did not know Biden did that. So here's what I'll do. There's some really good stuff in both of the documents that dropped last night. So let me bring that up. We always love Rosengart's sassy writing. Okay. Okay. Non-book display. Yeah. GoFundMe. It's bag shelf and very important. Yes. When I finally get around to making merch, that'll be on it. Okay. So this is an introduction and summary of argument from Matthew Rosengart. I'll stop every paragraph or so and we can discuss. On September 29th, this court suspended Mr. Spears as conservator of the estate, noting that his involvement was toxic to the well-being of Miss Spears. Court terminated the entire conservatorship, which began in 2008. Still, the vultures continue to circle. Virtually the first act of Jamie Spears' new counsel was an attempted ex-parte application, November 12th, seeking the relief sought herein on an emergency basis because Mr. Spears' latest lawyers, hired after his suspension, wanted to be paid untold sums, getting up to speed regarding what Mr. Spears' recently jettisoned set of lawyers had done. Jamie went to the court and said, emergency, I need you to allow my lawyers to immediately get paid out of conservatorship, immediately, from Brittany's money to get up to speed on the last 13 years so they can defend me on all the shit that my prior attorneys advised me or allowed me to do. They aren't deep enough to be bookshelves. Yeah, they're just, it's funny. Although the application was summarily rejected by the clerk, it forced Miss Spears to incur the time and expense of preparing an opposition, exposing the application's many flaws, including Mr. Spears' new counsel's failure to even cite, much less discuss, a seminal decision precluding his requested relief. People versus Shine. Having been so educated, Mr. Spears returned with this petition, attempting to navigate around all the flaws identified in his daughter's opposition to his prior ex parte application. This time, Mr. Spears does allude to Shine, the case he previously ignored, but he mischaracterizes it and fails to reconcile the present facts with Shine's admonition that pendente lite fees will seldom be justified where, as here, the fiduciary's misconduct is at issue. I.e., Rosengart saying, we have this Shine case where it says you don't get your fees if what we're doing is exposing your misconduct and litigating that. You can't have the conservatee pay your attorney's fees to defend you in your misconduct trial. I did not get my bookshelves being a topic of discussion on my 2022 bingo card. I didn't think that anybody would care. Moreover, in contrast to Mr. Spears' fantastical claims of impeccable service, the allegations of misconduct against him are specific, credible, and serious, ranging from abuse to conflicts of interest, financial mismanagement, and corruption of the conservatorship to implicating state and federal criminal law. As also summarized in the accompanying declaration of former FBI Special Agent Shireen Abadi, there are numerous reasons why Mr. Spears' petition must be summarily denied. Mr. Spears and his phalanx of lawyers have been lavishly compensated already for well over a decade in service of a conservator who has been suspended. Based upon public records and QuickBooks data obtained by Kroll, that's the Abadi's firm, Mr. Spears took more than $6 million from the estate personally. $6 million, about $500,000 a year, and he was over here saying what? He got like $1,600 a month. My freaking calculator. $6 million. 1,600 times 12 times 13. $250,000. $250,000. So that's a big difference. Okay. After extracting those funds, he used them for his own purposes and aggrandizement, including, among other things, to try to recreate his career as a cook by pitching a television show called Cookin', Cruisin' in Chaos with Jamie Spears, for which he diverted personnel from Britney Spears' tour to help him and retrofitted a tour bus from which he could travel, cook, and serve food. He wanted to be like the next Guy Fieri. In addition to the known funds that Mr. Spears took from the conservatorship, Mr. Spears had already paid lawyers and others additional millions, in part to suppress the hashtag Free Britney movement and sue Britney Spears supporters. Given the millions of dollars he already has obtained from his daughter's estate, built through her extraordinary talent, hard work, and perseverance, Mr. Spears already should have more than enough resources to pay his new lawyers at the outset, while at the very least, and as Shine teaches, that's that case, he waits for this court to review any work rendered and the rates charged for reasonableness and benefit, if any, to the former conservatorship estate. He cites another case, Lefkovitz. Fee awards are inappropriate where the fiduciary acts from personal motive or interest or resists removal out of concerns for personal reputation rather than what would benefit the estate. Did I do that wrong? Okay. Thank you, Steph. Something didn't seem right. I also can only see part of my keyboard and screen. What Steph said. $16,000 a month. 16,000. I did 1,600. Was it 16,000? I guess even that now seems like... So 2.3 million in 12 years versus 6 is what he got. I don't think Jamie Spears thought this day would come. It's all catching up. Yep. Steph is always here for my... No, you're probably right. It was 16,000. 1,600 sounds low. I kept thinking about how much Brittany was getting, not Jamie. Damn it! I made that error before. That 1,600 is what Brittany was getting a month, right? No, 800. Can't remember. 2,000 a month, 2,000 a week. Can't remember. Brittany was getting 14. There we go. That must have been what I was looking at. Anyway, if in fact Mr. Spears had squandered the $6+ million he already obtained from his daughter, that would provide all the more reason for this court to reject his request for payment on account because, in addition to important legal considerations and policy implications, Brittany Spears should not be placed in the unenviable position of having to litigate to claw back funds that should never have been paid in the first instance, should this story end where it might, with Mr. Spears owing significant sums to his daughter in damages or surcharges. Second, and relatedly, it is unfair to burden Miss Spears with the recent resignation or termination of Mr. Spears' last set of lawyers from Holland & Knight, as he now prays for leave to do the same thing again, this time with a New York law firm with brand new lawyers billing at presumably even higher rates. Not only does the timing of Mr. Spears' decision to jettison his old lawyers, or theirs to jettison him, and replace him with new ones on his way out the door guarantee excess and waste, as the new lawyers seek to familiarize themselves with 13 years of pleadings and history, but to hand this New York law firm with new lawyers billing at higher billing rates, licensed to get paid 80% of their billing without judicial oversight, would be to grant them a license to run up fees in hopes of driving Miss Spears into submission without the merits of any claims having been resolved. In short, and to put it bluntly, stripped of its misleading claims of professed cooperation, the petition seeks the court's authority for Mr. Spears to wage a war of attrition on his daughter's time. After all Miss Spears has endured already, that would be the height of inequity. Oh, Jesus, there's 666 people here. Did you get kicked out? Oh. It's just me and you, Steph. The echo is just on our phones. Third, although cloaked in language professing cooperation and adherence to his ongoing fiduciary duties, the petition actually reads like a thinly veiled threat that, unless his new counsel is given a blank check to wage war, Mr. Spears will refuse and fail to perform basic limited tasks that he remains obligated to do, whether his petition is granted or not. I'm going to check in real quick. Why New York? I have no idea. Nothing yet on Brittany. Law Army. Nothing yet from that surprise witness. Nothing from Liz Day. Nothing from Noted Your Honor. Can she only see stuff on this? No, I just see it because she's my moderator and my friend. And she always makes sure to like fact check me. Nail biting moments. Popcorn Planet had something earlier. Which side was the surprise witness for? Brittany's. Is what the trial is about today. There's no trial. It's a hearing. Though it's hard to know what's going on inside because I don't have any information on it. Moderator, I'm your biff. I know. I just don't want people to feel like I have any deference to, but like, what happens if Jamie can't pay back the money? Judgment. I mean, at this point, Brittany would be fine, theoretically, if she just was like, listen, I want to walk away. I'm just going to take my money and go. And you know, Jamie's now resigned. He's, you know, been publicly flogged. People know. And she could rebuild her career. But I don't think that's what she's going to do. Is Jamie responsible for his legal fees based on what you read? I'm going to plug in my phone. Actually, that could mess up stuff. The court will decide that. Brittany's attorney is arguing yes. Jamie is arguing no. She is going scorched earth, yeah. No court updates that I can see. And we're 45 minutes in. Does the statute of limitations mean the older stuff might not get prosecuted? I don't think that there's a statute of limitations issue here with regard to how this was formed, how it was handled, any of that. Otherwise, Rosengart wouldn't be going so hard at it publicly and in court documents. Jamie might not, but Lou Taylor can pay back. Yeah. I bet Brittany gets her direct royalties now, which is awesome. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I look at it very similar to the Taylor Swift situation. I wonder if people will start streaming Britney Spears music more, or if they did after the conservatorship was terminated, or at least after she got control. Can she get the money back transferred in the trust? Yeah, not even back. It would just get put in her name, theoretically. Explain the Jamie Lynn husband involvement in conservatorship. Let me see if I can go directly to that. Here's I'm trying to see. Okay. We know about the Lou Taylor Tristar. A lot of that's been reported on pretty extensively and discussed. So let me go into the self-dealing stuff, and I think that's where this information is. So Mr. Spears' self-dealing and mismanagement. Although discovery and further investigation are required, Britney Spears' childhood home has evidently been used for Mr. Spears' gain. Jamie and Lynn Spears purchased 14550 Greenlaw Church Road, Kentwood, Louisiana, which was subdivided into 3 parcels in July 1980. In August 1986, the bank foreclosed on a portion of this land that included Miss Spears' family home. In February 2002, Bridgemore Timber LLC, an entity owned by Britney Spears, purchased this parcel from the bank for $56,000. In December 2017, 15 years later, and with James Spears now in charge, James Spears petitioned the court to purchase the parcel from Bridgemore for $59,688.18. Among other reasons, Mr. Spears claimed that this was in the best interest of the conservatee, as the property had decreased significantly in value and had an ongoing tax burden and would result in a significant loss for Ms. Spears' estate. The tax burden in 2016, however, was just $56. In February 2021, just 3 years after acquiring this property from his daughter's estate, Mr. Spears personally sold all 3 parcels for $275,000. Wow. Any chance that the Call Her Daddy show part 2 won't come out because of the cease and desist letter? Yeah, a chance. After the cease and desist was dated the 17th, an episode released after that date. Was it? Yeah, you're right. It was released 2 nights ago. Not last night, but the night before. Kentwood property. According to public records, Brittany's Bridgemore entity, managed by Mr. Spears as conservator, also purchased a warehouse storage unit while under the stewardship of James Spears, located at 77068 Highway 1053, Kentwood, for $62,000 in an all-cash sale in November 2011. The property consists of 10 acres and a structure containing 3 large storage bays and 1 smaller storage bay, plus warehouse space. A December 2017 lease agreement between Spears Management, owned by James Spears, and Bridgemore, owned by Brittany, allowed Spears Management to occupy bay number 3 at the warehouse. Publicly available images of this property show the 3 larger bays being occupied by vehicles known to belong to James Spears, as well as images of Mr. Spears sitting at a desk speaking with another person inside the smaller bay. Mr. Spears also caused the estate to pay utility and other services at the warehouse, even though they were provided for his benefit and despite a provision in the lease that required him to bear those costs himself. That's awesome, Natalie. I've seen a couple people say this, Brittany. Thank you, Nana. Is the cease and desist even real? I read it. It sounds a little too crazy. That is very much in line with Rosengart's vernacular, how he speaks. Again, he's pretty smart in that he writes things both for court consumption and for the public consumption. So it doesn't. The only thing that strikes me as odd is his lack of specific circumstances, examples of actions that Jamie Lynn has taken that could be actionable. $1.5 million to upkeep the Louisiana property. I think it was closer to 2, and that was Lynn's property. Bridgemore has also purchased multiple parcels of land during Mr. Spears' tenure as conservator, which he sold at a loss to the estate of $800,000. In May 2001, Bridgemore purchased 3 parcels of land in East Feliciana Parish for $2.8 million. In February 2015, Mr. Spears sold these parcels of land to 3 separate parties for an average total of $2.2 million at a loss of more than $500,000. In August 2001, Bridgemore purchased a parcel of land in East Feliciana Parish for $350,000-ish. In March 2015, while Mr. Spears was manager of Bridgemore, he sold this parcel to a third party for $257,000 at a loss of almost $90,000. In August 2002, Bridgemore purchased additional parcels of land in East Feliciana Parish for $1 million. In August 2021, while Mr. Spears was manager of Bridgemore, he sold these parcels for $815,000, a loss of more than $250,000. This is... These details cement the claims made by many Feliciana, got it. Many people that he is not set aside abuse, alcoholism, any other deficiencies. He wasn't fit to serve as conservator of Brittany's estate, of a business. He doesn't have the financial acumen to deal with this. He doesn't, how? When people say like he was the subject of bankruptcy, some of those notions are like, yeah, peripheral. Yeah, it maybe, this is like cement evidence of like, you purchased assets and then sold them for a loss. You purchased assets, used them, then sold them for a loss. You purchased assets that you were supposed to maintain personally, use them, and then had the estate pay for them. Like, it's... Also, the idea that you sell a property for a loss of $250,000 in 2021 when real estate prices are going crazy, I am not aware of real estate prices everywhere, but she's still not 100% free. Why would her security team tell her no when she had a fever? I saw that. I was curious about that too. There was discussion that maybe that was reference to a song. I don't know. She is not, the conservatorship is not completely over, but she should have 100% control of her, herself. She may be, not comfortable with leaving the property on her own and maybe asking for her security to go do that for her. I don't know. It is a haircut. So corrupt and wrong. I'm glad she has a good lawyer. Yep. But he wouldn't let her have money because she would misspend. Exactly. This is my favorite. Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos with Jamie Spears. By approximately 2010 or 2011, Mr. Spears had so enriched himself from his daughter's estate that he was able to buy himself his own tour bus for hundreds of thousands of dollars, which he had then outfitted with barbecue grills and other specialized cooking equipment. Mr. Spears used that retrofitted tour bus to promote his catering business, Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos. Oh my God, LLC. And it could sometimes be seen outside the Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, where Miss Spears was rehearsing and performing. Kroll's investigation concerning this issue is ongoing, but regardless of how Mr. Spears funded or accounted for his purchase, it is evident that but for the salary and commissions he drew from the estate, he would not have had sufficient income to afford the tour bus to use for his Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos business. Mr. Spears also exploited his role as conservator to prevail upon Miss Spears' tour staff to help him turn his catering business into a Hollywood career. More particularly, in 2015, Mr. Spears approached Mark DeClore, the music supervisor who had been working for Miss Spears, to request that Mr. DeClore use his digital and recording expertise to help Mr. Spears record a promotional reel. Mr. Spears told Mr. DeClore that he needed the reel so he could pitch his own pilot cooking show entitled Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos with Jamie Spears. I want to see that reel. To a television network like the Cooking Channel. Mr. Spears used Mr. DeClore's services for his personal use and own benefit. Mr. Spears never offered to pay for his time or services, which would have cost Mr. Spears a significant amount of money if he had not had access to, and freely availed himself of that access to, highly trained professionals like Mr. DeClore, who were employed by the conservatorship. DeClore, I don't know. I feel like if I just say it multiple different ways, at some point I'll get it right. You can find me in Google. You should apply for your verified check mark. I don't think I can get it. Say what again? Jamie Spears' days as a free man are numbered. DeClore? Mark DeClore? Is that who? I also wondered if her security was not assigned to do personal trips, only security. Maybe. So the conservatorship is not over. No. Need to go back to Twitter and check all the people to see if anything's happened. Cooking, Cruisin', and Chaos. Oh, Cooking, Cruisin', and Chaos. Yeah, but it's not. It's Cookin' with like a apostrophe, Cruisin', apostrophe, Chaos. I guess no apostrophe. Nothing from that surprise witness. Nothing from Brittany Law Army. Train wreck, yeah. Okay. Excessive legal fees, we know that. I'm trying to see. Playing on his own misguided sense of equity, Mr. Spears relies heavily in his petition on the fact that his other counsel have been paid on account and claims it would be unfair to treat him differently. But the conservatorship has been terminated, and even if it were not, none of the other professionals were counsel for a disgraced and suspended former conservator. Okay, I need to go to the other document because it must be in the other one. Let me search. Jamie Lynn. Body. Mr. Spears used Britney Spears' estate to enrich himself and those loyal or useful to him. Okay, here we go. Mr. Spears paid personal living expenses with estate funds. Mr. Spears also caused the estate to pay his own utility and other expenses. So this is from the declaration of the former FBI agent. Other expenses at the Kentwood, Louisiana warehouse where he resided for at least some period of time during the latter part of the conservatorship. That warehouse was owned by Miss Spears through her entity Bridgemore, and a December 2017 lease agreement between the two allowed Spears management to occupy Bay 3. However, public records and media reports show that Mr. Spears evidently occupied the entirety of the warehouse. Publicly available images of the property show how the 3 larger bays being occupied by vehicles believed to belong to Jamie Spears, including vehicles matching the description of vehicles registered to Mr. Spears Catering Company, Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos LLC, as well as images of Mr. Spears sitting at a desk speaking with another person inside the smaller bay. Per the lease for the single warehouse bay, dated December 2017, Mr. Spears was responsible for contracting directly for and paying all utilities needed, including telephone and alarm monitoring services. However, according to financial documentation obtained from temporary conservator John Zabel between 2012 and 2020, Bridgemore, not Mr. Spears, paid more than $11,000 to AT&T for phone services at the warehouse, and 2, close to $9,000 to Advanced Multimedia Partners for lot improvements, repairs, maintenance, and alarm services for the warehouse. Important. Mr. Spears did not undertake to pay for these services that he enjoyed, even after he signed the lease. Advanced Multimedia Partners, who we just learned got $9,000 from the estate for improvements, repairs, maintenance, and alarm services for the warehouse that was owned by Britney Spears, is an entity owned by James P. Watson III, husband of Jamie Lynn Spears, son-in-law to Jamie Spears. Yes, I know that surprise witness is in the courtroom. We've been checking in with her Twitter to see if anything's coming up, but no one's tweeting yet. This person has some very loud music. My opinion, no, the money went to Jamie Lynn's husband. Jamie Lynn's husband was paid for maintenance, repairs, and services to this property owned by Brittany. There you go. If you want to see a property Jamie owned, check Zillow, 14550 Greenlaw Church Road, Kentwood, Louisiana. Thank you. What in regards to the conservatorship is not over? He's a pool boy. He may be a pool boy. Oh, God. Twisted family. Allegedly, my opinion. Shoot, I was going to say something. What in regards to the conservatorship is not over? Money is being put into a trust for Brittany's control. John Zabel is acting as temporary conservator for the limited purpose of doing that. Somebody asked earlier about whether or not there was a forensic accounting going on. Yes, I believe there is. He's assisting in that. That address was for cooking, cruising, and chaos. Interesting. Nice, Jamie Lynn. Named after both her crooked parents. Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. The extra money to Mama Spears makes a lot more sense. Oh. I just like, it's too much. It's too much. Okay. So the total, let's see. Mr. Spears also used his daughter's money to pay substantial expenses for the renovation and upkeep of property owned by the estate on Lewiston Road in Kentwood. The property was purchased by Britney Spears in October 1999 for $29,000. During the course of the conservatorship, the property had an estimated fair market value of between $570,000 and $740,000. Based upon my review of QuickBooks data provided by Tristar, Miss Spears' estate incurred exorbitant costs associated with the upkeep of this property. Between 2009 and 2019, the estate paid more than $1.5 million in expenses, between 2 and 3 times the value of the house, with almost $1 million of that ostensibly spent on repairs and maintenance. He was asked about this in the 7th account, but never answered. Sold to 10/21. How convenient. Yes, my husband did cut my hair. Forgot about that property. What was the purpose of the property? I don't remember if this is the one that her mom was living in. I think it was. Yeah, Mama lives in a mansion in Kentwood that Britt bought. Isn't that one? This one? Yeah, Kentwood. My hairstylist is on his way home now. Updates, let me check. Oh, nothing there. Nothing there. Still on live, baby girl. Sorry. I heard. Baby girl, I'll be with you in a moment. Sorry. I wish Brittany could sell a Kentwood house. If it's in her name, she could. My husband's a car salesman and he takes in cars on trade, and he took in a 2021 Corvette on trade yesterday. So he's bringing it home because my daughter's very into cars, and so she's very excited about the Corvette, even though he sells Fords. It's not. Just being kind of a trader. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, let me go back to the document. Did Jamie admit the stuff from the memo? What memo? Do you have the exact address? I do. Let me see. Thought I did. No, it just says Louisiana residence. Financial documentation obtained from Tristar via QuickBooks shows that $178,000 of the more than $1.5 million spent on the Louisiana residence was paid to Advanced Multimedia Partners, Mr. Spears' son-in-law's company. We thought the $9,000 was bad. Wait till you find out about the $178,000 that was paid to Jamie Lynn's husband. $1.5 million spent on the Louisiana residence was paid to Advanced Multimedia Partners, Mr. Spears' son-in-law's company, for professional services, fees, repairs, and maintenance, and unidentified charges related to the property from 2012 to 2020. Notably, nearly $60,000 of the funds paid to this entity were paid in 2014. The same year, Mr. Spears evaded the court's request for an explanation for the extraordinarily high expenses associated with the property. We need a round 3 of Jamie Lynn's. We didn't have anything to do with it. There you go. Yeah, I think this is the home. It would take me too long to pull it up, but maybe not. Let me see. Back in November, when Lynn Spears filed her declaration to end the conservatorship, along with Jody Montgomery, Jamie Spears let's see. This is on behalf of her. Jamie Spears came out with this filing against Lynn Spears, talking about all the money that he allowed to be paid on behalf of Lynn Spears for her property, and was like, I've paid so much for your property. Let me see. Stipulation. Notice. I'm going back in all my documents that I've ordered. Minute order. Notice. Objection. No. Sorry. Notice lodging, agency. Objection. That's just judicial notice. Sorry. Supplement, second. This is all. Oh, jeez. Petition. It would, if I feel like it's worth it. I can't find it though. You know, echoes. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. Damn it. I'm not seeing it. So many people filed so much shit in this case. There's no way. It was in August. I'm all the way back. No echoes. Good. Damn. Minute order. Oh, I was ordering all kinds of shit back then. So Jamie Lynn took how much from Brittany? I don't know how much she got paid for the trust, if she got paid at all, but it's looking like quite a bit for her husband. Let me go back. Okay. So let me see if I can copy, where is it? Advanced multimedia. So let me see if I can find any other advanced multimedia. Advanced. I'll just do advanced. Yeah, so 178,000 plus that 9. Do Brittany's posts regarding Jamie Lynn hurt her case? No, not in my opinion. Was it Brittany and Kevin Federline's show called Chaotic? I don't remember. What was the purpose of the warehouse? I think that was what Jamie was operating out of. Jamie Spears, as conservator, was operating out of the warehouse. Is the $30 million in legal fees already paid? Yes, that is the legal fees expended over the life of the conservatorship. It was called Chaotic. Interesting. I mean, I don't begrudge him the ability to use Chaotic. I just, you know. Well, they talk about Lynn's lawyer fees today too. I think is on calendar. My damn family just continually barks. Yeah, Brittany's ideas, I know. I practiced law in California. I'm so confused. Did he not think he wouldn't get caught? No, he did not think he would get caught, is my opinion. And I'll tell you why. If the judge did one small thing that flipped this, and then I'm going to get off. I know there's a lot of you waiting for updates, but since we're not getting them, I think it would be better served if I did what I need to do here and then came back on later with any updates. But the judge did one small thing that made worlds of a difference for Brittany. Instead of ending the conservatorship.
Sorry, I think I want to go in a car ride with Dad.
If Dad gets here.
Okay.
I'm not going to stop you from leaving with your father. If he gets here, will you have him pop in here real quick before you go?
Yeah.
Jamie. Sorry. Okay. Jamie Spears asked the court to dissolve the conservatorship in September. And instead of immediately closing out the conservatorship, with Jamie acting as conservator at the end of the conservatorship, she suspended Jamie and allowed they actually call it a wind up, not a wind down, but a wind up of the conservatorship to occur with a temporary conservator, John Zabel, or John Zabel as temporary conservator. And what that allowed to happen is the transfer of all files, information, confidential documents, privileged communication between the conservator and their counsel to go from Jamie and Holland and Knight and Geraldine Wiley to the new conservator, Brittany's counsel. Everybody gets to see it now. And that small detail, that small choice by the court to keep it open and force transfer of all of that information allows for Rosengart to just go wild now. Would Jamie have destroyed it? I don't know that he would have destroyed it, but I still think that this would have progressed with Rosengart. Rosengart just has a lot more legal authority to require the turning over of confidential, privileged communication. This was a judge different than the one that enacted the conservatorship in the first place. Who all can face jail time? I don't know yet. I mean, there are multiple accusations that are being lodged through these documents, either directly or indirectly. Finally, my 40 pages giving me content I'm interested in. That makes me happy. I feel like this will go on for years. Civil litigation generally does take a long time, especially in the time of COVID. But I don't know. I don't think Rosengart's going to play games. He seems to be pushing this along. I mean, he got in August, July. And by August had a petition for removal of Jamie. By October had a petition to end the conservatorship. How far out is he, baby? How far out is he? Oh. I was going to wait till he came home. Let him get accolades for cutting my hair. They have 13 years to dissect. Yeah, and it's going to take a second. Do you think Jamie's lawyer actually gave Rosengart all the files? I think that even somebody who was willing, it was going to take time. So I don't know that we have that. If you're back on later, can you record it for the UK peeps? Yes, I will. The family would have never needed a thing if they would have treated her right. Yeah. I don't mean to be rude, but it looks like he did one eyebrow. Was it? It didn't. They're both done. Did Jamie sit for depositions? Not that I'm aware of. Yes, this live is recorded. Well, for me. I'll post it to my YouTube later. Other than that, one's darker. I think it's just the light. Can the $30 million be repaid to Brit? That's going to be a much different. Other than that, one's darker. I think it's just the light. Can the $30 million be repaid to Brit? That's going to be a much different discussion. My sister's not twins. Yeah, I'm bad with eyebrows. Can the judge force him to sit for a deposition? Absolutely. Yeah, it does seem like he's bad with records. There is a window on this side. You're right. Brittany is about to sue everybody. Already feels like she is. State owes her that, plus so much more. Yeah, the $600 million we'll have to see. Was her brother involved? Not sure. If the lawyers were actively helping Jamie abuse her money, can they be held responsible? I'd have to think that through. I won't give you the rundown, but I'll post this on YouTube, and then we'll follow up with what happens from this court hearing later to the extent we find out. I'm sure we will. So I'm going to get off. I'm going to leave you with my bookcase, sans books. And I will try to post when I go live later, I'll try to put it as an event like I did before. I will talk to you guys soon, probably today. Bye, guys. Display case, yes.